All right, day 403, day 403. Let's keep staying consistent. Let's do what we do best, which is build great habits. All right. So today we're adding to our list of 4-bedroom properties. If you can see me on Redfin, I have this up on single family homes, 4-bedroom plus, and properties that have been on Redfin for less than 7 days. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've been looking at properties and you saw our live yesterday. We did a BRRRR analysis, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's a BRRRR strategy. And the whole premise behind a BRRRR strategy is that it's a scalable strategy, which means that you're able to use the same capital over and over and over so that you can use the same amount of money you invested, take it back out through a refinancing, and plow it to the next deal. Now, let's just use some numbers, right? Let's say you're able to buy a home for $40,000 cash. Using round numbers here, you can renovate the property for $30,000, and you are able, with that 30 grand renovation, make that property now worth $100,000. Well, now you can go get a loan for 70% or 80% of the value of the home, take it out, and then all of a sudden, now you're able to use the same 70 grand and go buy your next property. That is why this strategy is so popular. It's because if you are able to mitigate auto risk, which is especially execution risk. Well, what's execution risk? It's whether or not your contractors show up on time and did what they say they were going to do, right? And that's execution risk, right? Was that worth your time? And you got to understand, hey, when you go and take on these projects, you got to make sure that you have a great team in place. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose money, because no matter what you put on a spreadsheet, it's not going to matter because someone's not going to perform the way you expected it to. All right. So what makes that strategy work is really, really heavily dependent on your ARV, your after repair value estimate. And in order for you to stay on top of your ARV estimate, you really have to spend your time doing these projects every single day, looking at these deals every single day to figure out, okay, what's happening in the market? What are properties coming onto the market for? This is 1326 square feet. This property was built in 1949. And you have to understand that this is really a art, not a science, right? Because what's a perfect comp, right? If you had a property right next to 1240 18th Way in Birmingham, and you saw that this property came on the market and has same square footage, same size, same bath count, same year built, same finishes, same appearance on the outside, well, that would make it a perfect comp. But as you can imagine, it's rare that you have a home that's exactly the same unless you are a very planned subdivision where these are cookie cutter homes, right? Well, that's how you get a perfect comp. So as you go and look for comps, like when you go across big streets, or you go across natural barriers like this creek right here, or you go across big roads like this main street over here, or you go across big highways like this, you're now in completely different neighborhoods. So even though that this is the subject property, let's say this was not the property you were adding to your comparable list. To say this is a property that you were looking to buy as a 3-bedroom fixer upper, trying to buy a property, and now you're looking at comps all the way across the I-20. Well, I would be hard pressed to believe that's a great comp, right? Unless you're struggling to find 4-bedroom properties, that might be a different conversation. But you have to understand, the further and further you get away from it, your risk goes higher, right? Because the risk of you getting your ARV estimates incorrect goes higher. Because if you ever had to challenge an appraisal, you have to give them support. And if you don't have comparable properties in this area that are 4-bedroom plus that are within like a 10-15% difference in square footage, that's going to be a really, really hard sell. So be very, very careful with how you do it because I've gone through an appraisal, right? Someone did a desktop appraisal, came through a lot lower, and after I sent them some comps, they're like, oh yeah, this is now worth, instead of being worth 900 grand, it's now worth 1.15 million. Huge difference, right? That's the difference between getting back out $250,000. Now, obviously, this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm not telling you what I'm doing is correct or not correct. I'm simply showing you the work I do every single day just to practice and put in the reps. That's all I'm doing. All right. So this property was listed on 11/4/24, I believe, right? Did I get that right? This was listed 4 days ago, 11/2. Okay. Now I want to write down what the lot size is. This lot size is 6969. 6969. And this is a garage. No. This is in a subdivision called, I like to zoom out. This is West End Manor. West End Manor. And now I can compare, hey, these other properties in West End Manor also came onto the market at roughly around $89, $90 a square foot. So now this gives me pretty good confidence, right? If I get another 3-bedroom property that comes across in 35211 near the West End Manor, $89, $90 is probably the right square footage, even though this property is probably renovated and this property could use a little bit of love. I would say you need to paint it. You probably need to do a little bit more updating in the bathrooms, just some small cosmetic stuff, maybe just refinish the floors and make it a little bit nicer, because this is what this property is selling. I would argue that this property probably photographed better than the other one. So these are all the considerations that you got to put in place when you're thinking about, hey, how am I going to renovate this property? What do I want to make it look like? And I really want to be able to achieve a $9 per square foot. What do I need to make it look like? You can give this listing and say, hey, Mr. or Miss Contractor, I'm trying to achieve an ARV with this dollar per square footage price. Can you make my home look like something like this? Right? Obviously, 2-floor homes might differ than single-floor homes. Just something that you got to keep in touch with and see whether or not there's a premium associated with that. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to come here and we're going to put in the properties. Let me see what's going on over here. I'm going to analyze this deal. So, okay, kitchen, no carpet, needs to just be repainted and refinished on the flooring. So that's all I need to do for this property. So I can just general condition of the home. Now, I'm going to analyze this deal, just assuming purely for underwriting purposes, what the property is going to look like. I'm going to delete that plus 10,000 because I was looking at something different yesterday, that where we're adding a bedroom. And now I'm going to rehab calculator. I'm going to go to the estimate and I'll put in the square footage because I'm assuming you paint the place at 1326 square feet, and I need to refinish existing flooring at 1326. I do not need to put in a new kitchen. Maybe I can paint the cabinets so it looks nice and fresh. I don't need to renovate the bathroom. I'll probably replace the 2 toilets with high pressure flush toilets. It looks perfectly fine. Don't need to do any of these work. I'm assuming that's all in good shape. I got $1,500 for the roof repair, just in case there's any leaks I need to patch up. Got $500 for some landscaping. So that gives me a total rehab about 18 grand. Very simple, minor cosmetic rehab, right? Now, what am I going to get for rents on this property? If I go to affordablehousing.com and I go to the market rent estimator under the owner section, I'm going to plug in the address right here for 1240 18th Way. And then I'm going to put in my bedroom count right here at 4 bedrooms. This allows me to get, on average, what the market rent is for 25 units within a 1.78 mile radius. So I'll put this at 1,300. I'm going to get my estimated tax payments from right here, $56. Obviously, you got to make sure you are getting updated numbers from your county assessor records. I'm going to take this $93 for homeowner insurance and I'm going to multiply it by 1.2. Okay. Now that I got it multiplied by 1.2, here's what we're going to do. I'm adding a 20% premium because I'm assuming this $93 estimate is for a primary residence property. When I convert this to an investment property, that is likely going to yield me better results. Okay. All right. So now that I got my $93, I got 10% for my maintenance, which is so crucial, right? Please keep in mind. I mean, I just got a bill for $15,000 for a roof repair on our homes. If you didn't set aside $130 for 100 months, then you would have been overestimating your profitability because you underestimated your expenses. Please keep this in mind. Don't be that person that thinks you were making all this money and then you get slapped with a big bill and you realize you didn't make any money for the past 5 years. Please always underwrite with maintenance. If you see anybody that ever asks you, and I've seen this on Instagram, that tells you to underwrite with no maintenance because you buy for turnkey, quote unquote, man, they are lying to you. Please don't fall for that. Okay? Now, for my down payment, I got 25% down in F19. I got my down payment as equals to my B4 times my down payment percentage right there. And then my finance amount is going to equal to my B4, my asking price, minus my cash to seller, $30,000. And so I'm going to finance $90,000 for this property. If I am able to get this property for $1,300 rent every single month, right, as a 4-bedroom, and rent out for $13, I can cash flow $193 a month, but that's only a 4.5% cash on cash return, right? Obviously, this is not a deal for me personally, but might it be a deal for somebody else? Again, not investment, not soliciting any investments on this call, right? Is that a deal? I mean, you can go get a 10-year treasury bond yield right now for 4.5%. So for me, that's not a deal because it's not worth the risk, the execution risk of me taking on this property, making sure that everything goes smoothly and completely as expected according to this deal. Because, well, what if something goes wrong? And now all of a sudden, I make less than 4%. I mean, I should just spend the money buying a 10-year treasury bond yield instead. Is there risk with that? Yeah, absolutely. But it's way less work and you would be achieving a similar return on your capital, excluding obviously some benefits such as depreciation. So these are all factors that you got to make sure you take into account. Now, let's say your target return is 10%. Again, I'm not saying 10% is the target. Some people might just want to buy a $1 million home if they can just cash flow break even. I mean, that's certainly within your rights to do so, but that's not my strategy. And that's why you got to talk to your own investment professionals. Okay, so look what happened. When I lowered my B4, my asking price to $120,000 to $90,000, my cash on cash now shot up to 9.6%. So this might be a deal for me, assuming my cash on cash return is 10%, because this gets me to a 9.6 cash on cash with a cash flow per month of $347, assuming everything else stay constant with the same rehab, down payment, and mortgage. That might be a better deal for me. Now, all I'm doing is showing you how to adjust the levers if you were to ever come across a problem. Because look what happens. Let's say you go and you offer on this property with inspection contingency, and all of a sudden you realize that the rehab is going to double, right? Now your rehab is $37,000. See how what happened? This cash on cash return just dropped down to 6.67. So now, in order for you to make this a deal and return your criteria again, you really have to be able to buy this property for about $68,000, because that's the only way you can get back closer to 10%. Right? So as your rehab went up, you might be freaking out. But if you stick to your underwriting skills and you understand how to take the emotions out of the deal, you now realize that you have $68,000, or that's your max offer price for this property, assuming you're financing everything else, assuming everything else stays constant. You can rent this property out for $1,300. That's so crucial. Please be very, very mindful of it. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look this property up. And this property is only worth 9.6%. So I'm not making an offer on this property, but hey, now you know how to do it, right? So here's my goal. I hope you guys are able to copy my homework. Look at the same property I analyzed today, right? Put that all together. and copy my homework. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet? Just go to affordablehousing.io. I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. I got a few different calculators. I modified it, I tweaked it, I added my own numbers. And that was my way of analyzing deals as fast as possible. You put in your name, email, and phone number. That's the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. And my hope is that you copy my homework, right? Put it on your own YouTube channel. Because when someone comes and asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? You can point them to your own YouTube channel and say, I know this is a deal because, well, I've been looking at deals for the past 403 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll see you all again tomorrow for day 404. Have a good one, everybody.